Textures Nordic Christmas A5 embossing folders. They're available separately, but I'm going to do this together because of course technique's the same for both of them, and you can use both these techniques on either of them. So these build up beautiful Nordic feel Christmas cards, backgrounds for journals and things like that. So what I'm going to do first of all is emboss one of these. I'm just going to do it in blue first of all. Now whenever you're embossing, because this is such a deep emboss with these, you're going to want to, ideally, if your paper or cardstock allows, is just give it a little spritz of water, just a light mist on both sides. What that's going to do is just aid the embossing process, so allow it to bend more rather than cracking, and it also, as it then dries, it does hold its shape, so it holds that beautiful imprint much better. Now if you're using a Sizzix Big Shot, you're going to want to take one of the clear plates out and pop the folder into the sandwich like this, rather than taking away the coloured base plates, because these folders are such a deep emboss, they are actually a little bit thicker than some other folders. Obviously each machine differs. Now I'm going to take my folder through one way and then all the way back again, and I'm going nice and slowly to allow that cardstock to just bend and mould around the embossing folder. I've used a cardstock that's probably around about 230 GSM for this one. Now this one is a white core, so immediately you can see the pattern that's in there. Now I'm not going to take this out of the folder, I'm just going to leave that there for a moment. What I am going to take is just some general DIY hardware sandpaper. I'm going to take a little bit of this. It is a fine grain, P60, so it's quite a fine grain one. And I'm just going to brush over the surface here, keeping it as flat as possible, and just start revealing the white core within the design. Now there are many tools on the market that will do this for you. So you can buy paper crafting sanders and distressing tools, but I just find this is a really inexpensive way of doing it. This will of course only work if you have a white core cardstock. If you have a cardstock that's not a white core, you're not going to be revealing any colour underneath. So you can just see from a light sand already, I'm picking out the detail. So already I'd work harder at that. That looks beautiful. Now, if you turn that over, if you were to pop this back into the folder, just give it a wiggle until it just sits nicely. You can do the same on the other side. So for example, this side, the snowflakes are raised up. So you may decide you want to pick out the white in the snowflakes instead. You can see there, just started lifting off the colour off the snowflakes. Really, really pretty. This also looks fantastic on other colours. So the brighter the colour, the more that white core is going to show up. And this one I've just added ink to, which is a technique that I'm going to use with this one. So this is the berries and pine embossing folder. Let's pop that one to the side. I've already embossed this one here, so I spritz my water. This is onto an ivory cardstock, and this time I'm going to use a little bit of ink. So just distress ink onto a flat foam blender. I'm not using my blending brushes this time because the bristles of the brushes can easily get down into the detail in the design there. So I'm using a flat foam instead, just to pick out the detail on the top. And I'm just very lightly going to brush small strokes over the edge that's got the design, so you can see this starting to come through, and it is absolutely beautiful. Now you could pick out this really deep design here with gilding wax with your finger or an applicator. You could pick it out with something like some gesso, some texture paste. You could use a brayer to bray a colour over the top as well, if you really want to make sure you're only picking out the top detail. So what I tend to do is pick that out and then just go along the edge there like so. And you can see those gorgeous berries just starting to lift up. You've also got an embossed line, a frame all the way around this too. So an example of where I've used this is just here. Along there, along with that white, that looks really festive, doesn't it? Absolutely beautiful. And an example of where I've used the other embossing panel there, that's just for this stag silhouette. Now these are all elements that come from the Nordic Christmas range from Textures. You can find more information about all of these on craftstash.co.uk.